but yeah, but 80% of myself is Kyber, so that's why.
Yeah, but thank you for spending some time on a Saturday night to join this webinar with us. So just really thankful for your time, and we are from Career Opportunity in Vietnam. So we created this group May last year with the main purpose of gathering a community that connects Vietnamese companies to global talents, and become a one-stop shop for expat foreigners and Vietnamese students and professionals to look for career opportunities in Vietnam. And in the past, we did 2 events, one for corporate career in Vietnam, and then the other one for startup career opportunity in Vietnam. And then we start getting a lot of requests about, hey, what's going on in Web3 ecosystem in Vietnam? So I think it's a perfect timing to do this friendly chat about career opportunities in Web 3.0, especially in the ecosystem in Vietnam, South Asia in general. But just to kind of kick off the event, I think we all know about Consensus. Last week, they announced a huge Series of 450 million. And we all know that MetaMask right now have 32 million monthly active users, up 50% since last November. So right now we have the daily active user to monthly active user ratio of almost 25%, which is like a huge opportunity for wallet to set up into a larger roles in our life, and for wallet to become a daily use case. And last year, more and more developers joining Web3 projects, and we have 34,000 new developers committed coding in Web3 last year, which is the highest ever in history. So that's why I got we as a whole professional community from Vietnam get really excited about Web3, and we saw that the space is going so fast, and this is a perfect timing to seize the opportunities. Even though we're still very early, I think this is the right time to talk about, should we, how can we inspire folks, especially Vietnamese professionals, to switch careers from Web 2 and Web 3. And so that's why today I have an all-star of panels of speakers coming from really leading Web 3 projects globally. So would love to have our speaker to start introducing about themselves. And also I have a superstar moderator, Jaslyn from Polygon with me as well, and love to hear maybe you introducing as well.
Cool, maybe I can kick start it. So I'm actually half Singaporean Vietnamese. So even though my last name is not, like Vietnamese, but I actually spent more than half of my lifetime in Saigon. So very well versed with, Vietnamese. I actually consider myself more Vietnamese than anything. But yeah, I'm Jaslyn. So I look after APAC for Polygon in terms of bringing, my focus is bringing like non-crypto native, like Web 2 companies over to Web 3. And I think the conversation that we're hearing nowadays is very little to do with why Web 3, but more of like we understand the value of Web 3 and how can we do it. So the conversation's a lot more productive. And I guess I can just leave it as that and have maybe Victor, since I see that you're now on mute, to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. My name is Victor. Yeah, I'm based in Saigon as well. So my title is actually I was just promoted by the previous CEO of Kyber to be the new CEO of Kyber just in the last 5 months. Yeah, so I have been working in Web3 actually before Web3 was a concept. We has been working in blockchain industry for a few years since 2016 along with the teams. Yeah, and currently Kyber is trying to be a new standard of decentralized exchange right now, and this is basically focusing on DeFi, and DeFi is also a very, very big part of Web3. So yeah, really happy to be in this event. All right, I got Tin is the next one.
Hey guys, thanks Victor. So yeah, hi everyone, I'm Tin. I'm the founder of SIPHER. We are a gaming and technology studio here also in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City. My journey to Web3 started at the beginning of last year when I took the Chinese New Year break to did a 1 week deep dive into the concept, into the community and all the products. And I was very lucky to know Victor and Loy, who are the co-founders of Kyber Network, where they gave me basically all the knowledge and experience and stories. And that really inspired me to start my journey building out SIPHER. So more than anybody, I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Ishanee, you want to go next?
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for hosting this, Valerie and Jaslyn. Am I pronouncing your names right? Yeah, cool. So I'm Ishanee. I'm an investor at IOSG Ventures. We're an early stage VC fund investing in crypto. So we've been investing since about 2017. I think our two top most Vietnamese projects that we've invested in has been Kyber Network here is back in the day, and more recently we did Coin98 as well. So those are the two Vietnamese very community driven projects as well. The fund is pretty crypto native, as I would say. So investing in layer 1 and layer 2 infrastructure, DeFi, and then now more recently into NFTs and its applications like gaming guilds, etc. as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself, and yeah.
Thank you so much. I guess I will also introduce quickly about myself. So I'm Valerie from Ventura. We have been actively investing in Web3 since Q4 last year. So still really new, but I think this is where the future is going. And all the venture capital would become crypto investor or Web3 investor. So that's why I have to start early. But yeah, I think thank you so much for the introductions. Maybe
yeah, so
I think all of you are based in South Asia and especially Vietnam. So for the team that are based in South Asia and Vietnam, what challenges have you faced in terms of attracting talents? And do you see a lack of technical expertise and structural learning environment for people interested in Web3 compared to other developed countries? I guess, Victor, if you could please answer this question first, because I think you are one of the earliest person in crypto here.
All right, you were a little bit broken. Can you repeat the question?
Maybe Jaslyn, could you help me repeating?
Yep. So, since you guys are, mainly based in Southeast Asia, I guess what Valerie was trying to ask with the Wi-Fi issue was the trying to understand what are the challenges and problems you guys face in terms of attracting the best talent here in Southeast Asia. Do you what's the, I guess, the hurdle mostly? Is it, technical expertise in Solidity, or is it basic knowledge about smart contracts, or is it about deeper down the rabbit hole? Yeah, so I guess that was kind of the question.
All right, so I guess I will go first. Well, actually, when I go first, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story from Kyber, because Kyber has been there for many years in blockchain industry. Actually, we are going to announce, we are going to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the company. So we has been there for 5 years, but the team has been there for 6 years. and even more before that with initiative and other things. So the challenges is always there. I mean for Web3, it is a new concept, and also the different mindset between Web2 and Web3 is that for Web2 you have to think of a way that you are going to provide a service for users, but for Web3 all you have to do is that you have to think of with a different mindset, is that you have to provide something that is distributed, that the other people can go to your service in a different way and can access to the service to via the blockchains and kind of things. So it is kind of, it has a jumps between Web2 and Web3 in terms of mindset. And you already know that in order to change the mindset, it is much harder than changing expertise or any kind of skill, right? Because you have to change the way you think. So that is basically the challenge. And also the markets also changed a lot. So back in 2016 and also 2017, when the ICO was the trend, so most of the work and also most of the innovations that we did back then was focusing on decentralizations and also securities. It was with like 80% of the works is with trying to learn about smart contract, trying to do smart contract very well, and also learning about the consensus, learning about the blockchain and kind of things, right? And then we went over the bear market in 2018 and 2019, and we get into the bull run in 2020 and 2021, right? So the market changed, and the shifts between interest also changed from the users. So users they were trying to focus on adoptions and focus on the user experience and kind of things, instead of learning more about the securities, instead of learning more about the blockchain concepts, they changed to focus on UI UX, the adoptions of DeFi and things like that. And also the scale of the service becomes more and more bigger. Become bigger and bigger, right? And that's also changed the challenge. So back in the days, we had to find people that has capabilities, to read the papers, to understand all the technical difficulties, try to overcome all of the algorithms and kind of things, right? But in the last 2 years, we had to change the focus on how to onboard engineers and also employees from Web2 to Web3. Instead of like for people to learn about Web3, they have to do all the other things, right? Try to do the better UI, better UX, improve all the infrastructures, provide better performance of the service and kind of thing, because the adoption was more. It requires, so the challenge here is that the market changed, and also the companies also has to change. We have to change in terms of strategies to educate people, in terms of strategies to look for talent, and even to change the ways that we interview them, right? And the change is not, it is not trivial. Like you have to change a lot of things in order to really tap into different labor markets and to interview them and things like that. So that is the big pictures of the challenge when you try to find people, try to hire talent to Web3, and that is only like the surface of the iceberg. The underneath challenge is that in Web3 you have a completely different architectures of the service, and also the mindset means that when even after you can hire people into the team, you also have a different ways in order to train them, in order to have them working with the teams and things like that. So yeah, that is the challenge, I think. And recently in last year, when the bull runs was there, and people was like, it was very easy for them to make money. So we also faced two main challenges in last year. The first one is that existing teams, they was able to raise fund and do their own startup. So that is one. And the second one is that everyone was trying to compete for talent, and the talent pool is not there yet. Like people with a lot of doubt go into crypto industry, and also the people who trying to go to crypto industry without a lot of knowledge. It makes the whole talent pool is very, very small, and the competitions there, the demand is very, really high, and it is very, very hard for people to attract talent, to compete with all the offers and things like that. So that is basically two challenges in the short-term run.
Right. Thank you.
I think just to build on what Victor mentioned here, right? So one, he talked about the market conditions and how that affects, just how folks look at and perceive crypto in general. So they don't know which one is a good project versus which is not a bad, which is just a random scammy project. It's difficult from the outside looking in to kind of figure out, hey, should I go to Kyber, which is a solid project, or should I go to some, this other random blockchain project that I'm being offered a job at as well? So that's like challenge number one. I think a best way to kind of get over that would just to be like reading more about, we have more analytics, data analytics these days, more insights on what's happening in the protocols at a protocol level. Go into the Discord, read more of these kind of things, and acclimatize yourself to basically what the projects are doing, what the team is doing, and then make a judgment call for yourself. The second thing is, I think, as Victor mentioned, the training process, even if you do have the skill transfers, is not necessarily the most difficult thing, but what is difficult is the mindset part, but also you need someone to help you coach and guide through that, because most of the crypto companies in general are very decentralized by nature. The level of training you would receive at, let's say, Google headquarters or Google quarters in South Singapore itself, where you have a team around you that's guiding you, it might not be the same experience that most people are used to. So education becomes a very important factor there as well. And doing so in a decentralized manner becomes challenging as well, especially if you're joining a new team, you yourself are new. And on top of that, if you're probably one or two of the only people in your country, from Vietnam, for example, or from Singapore as well. So again, in that case, I think the first thing, if you're even considering going into this industry, joining this industry, no matter what role you have, I think the first thing would be to go and talk to and network to with as many people as you can. Join communities, join Telegram, Discords, whatever might be available to you, and make a judgment call from there. And that should help you a lot to kickstart your entire Web3 journey.
Got it. Thank you, Ishanee, for the advice. I think that's one biggest question that a lot of professionals ask me, like how do they assess which projects to join? But I also want to hear from Dean, who's running SIPHER, and he might have some more insights on the game design aspect of the talent kind of each challenge in Web3.
Yeah, sure. Just to build on top of what Victor and Ishanee were sharing, I think they are all absolutely right about the challenges currently we are facing as an industry. However, I wouldn't say it's I think it's normal for any kind of industry when there's like a lot of interest and a lot of growth. You see similar things in the gaming sector as well, and for SIPHER, we are particularly we're at the crossroad of both gaming and Web3. So I guess the challenge is times two, because there's just so much interest in gaming talents and also interest in Web3 talents. My personal view, or I guess takeaways from this, was that you have to attract the right kind of people, and people who join this space should be joining for the right reasons. I think it's very easy to just follow the money and says, okay, we know Web3, everybody seems to be like 100x the money in like 2 days, so let's join the space. I don't think that's the kind of talent that helped build Kyber. I think the people who built Kyber since the beginning are, very vision driven, and to this day, and that's the same kind of talent that, at SIPHER we want to attract as well. And I think that's a very important message that, like Ishanee was saying, when you do background research on these projects and these companies, you should find out why they're doing it, what's the reason for doing this, and what are their plans, in persevering, after, it could potentially like a very long bear market. So that would be my personal takeaways from, what was like a 1.5 year, journey into crypto. Thanks.
Yep. So I'm curious to hear, how our product management, how our UX design, and how marketings are different from like Web2 to Web3 startups. And what skill set would make a career in Web3 go far? Because as we know, we're still over new in this industry.
I guess I can go first, since mine would be relatively easy. Again, like SIPHER, we're a gaming studio, so the skill sets are the same. You just have to know how to make great games. You just have to know how to engage with your gaming community. You have to know how to deliver like outstanding visuals and marketing pieces and content that can captivate your audience. So those skills remain the same. What is new, or what is newly required of the talents in Web3 gaming would be a deeper understanding of financial motivation, tokenomics, and tokenomics incentives. I think those are really extremely powerful tools that Web3 gaming studios can leverage, and those would be like the fighting forces or the leverage we would have against the traditional gaming giants. And the talents in this space should definitely be leveraging that. If not, then why Web3, right? And lastly, is just the sheer amount of like updates and communication needed with Web3 is incredible. Traditional games can just raise some money and close the door, focus on building the game for 2-3 years, and then once the game is done, they release it. Hello, we're here. Here's the game. But with Web3 gaming, you cannot do that. You have to constantly 24/7 every day, like talking, sharing, vibing with your community, telling them like what you're doing, what you're building, what time you go to the toilet. Okay, I'm kidding, but like just like constant communication. And I think that's something that not many game developers are used to, but they just have to learn how to do it. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with Tin. This is not just about game, but also about DeFi projects like Kyber as well. The project management, UI and UX, I don't think there's so much difference. I think it is still the same with the other normal industry. For the UI, I think it is a little bit different because you have all the users, they have to get familiar with the concept of a wallet. Means that they have to have a wallet. They have to know how to set up a wallet or interact with all of the apps and kind of things, and they have to do transactions and things like that. So that is a little bit of difficulty for people to use, and the UI has to overcome that. It comes to many levels. It comes to a lot of like different extents. Like even for Kyber, we also set a very long-term vision is that we want users that they don't have to worry about the wallet and kind of things, but that is for long-term things. And rather than that, I think the main difference is like in operating a project in Web3 is actually the mindset. So So Web2 and Web3, the main difference is that you're going to Web3 mean that you want to be more distributed and you want to be more open. You want to be more open source kind of things. The philosophies of open source is really getting to Web3. And the amount of marketing you are doing with Web3 is also very different. This is much more frequently, right? And also the way you do marketing is also very different. So in Web 2, you usually see that people go around with video, YouTube, or digital marketing, television ads, and things like that, right? But in Web 3, you barely see that. And you see that everyone is on Twitters, everyone is on communities. They talk about themselves. They try to be themselves. So instead of you trying to do digital marketing, you find a way to do meme. You find a way to send a message to the communities. You find a way to come up with a very creative campaign, or even like go bold with airdrop campaigns or incentive campaigns, all kind of thing. So that is the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 in terms of marketing. And I think that is one of the very important aspect when all the founders out there, you want to switch between doing a startup in Web 2 and going to a startup in Web 3. So that is with the marketing, right? And yeah, I think the main difference is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Victor and Tin both brought out basically it's like some of the most important differences that are between Web 2 and Web 3, which is game theory elements, or like your token economics, community, and transparency through open source softwares, basically. I can't really, I think that encapsulates most of it. I think the one thing for developers, I will say will be different, would be working in public, like building in public, which might be a bit of a cultural change for them, like a cultural shock, from as opposed to internet companies. That might be one shock, but the thing is that because the community that you've built around you, which is what Tin and Victor were alluding to, where you have to constantly be in touch with the community to make sure they're engaged, and also like to provide that transparency on what's going on, because they are your early supporters, they're your early users, but they're also your shareholder, like they're also your token holders, sorry. And so they play like a very vital role in your ecosystem, especially in the very early stages. So you have to provide them with that full transparency as well. And what a lot of the developers might not understand until they're kind of in the middle of this entire what seems like a chaos from the outside, and maybe even from the inside, is that sometimes, and a lot of the times, if you've done right by the community, they will reward you like tenfolds. Which what I mean by that is they'll provide you with feedbacks. They'll help you even with a lot of your feature, like random small features in your product. They might build on top of that. You might create a whole ecosystem out of this, right? So I think this kind of marketing tactic, it's not just about marketing. It starts off that way for everyone because it's an acquisition channel, like airdrops, etc. But it moves on into something so much more than that. And especially if you're transparent with the community from day one and they know they can trust you, then they're going to kind of reward you for that as well, beyond just kind of general revenues or usage of the platform. It'll be a full ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think those are, really awesome tips from the experts themselves. So I think we wanted to take a step back here, right? And wanted to understand about, APAC or, Southeast Asia. How are we, different from the rest of the world? Like for instance, Web3 in the US versus like in the EU, and like how are we as a hub within Asia different from the rest, and what makes us like what would make us really like thrive? Yeah.
I
right. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment that I think besides the US, I think APAC in general has been pretty early in crypto in the sense from an adoption point of view, even from like a user point of view, which is adoption means like actually using Web3 dApps and playing Axie Infinity, etc. There's also like crypto holding, which is basically just to invest in crypto assets. Even in that, and then third, also on a founding perspective. So out of a lot of these different regions, I think we've seen a lot of quality projects. So the density, like the percentage quantity of really strong projects coming out of APAC compared to the number of total companies out here, like founded Southeast Asian companies, has been like pretty success. Like it has a higher success rate than I would say like what US or like Europe has had. I think now, even from a regulatory point of view, I think Singapore, Thailand had some of the earliest kind of frameworks, even when US, still is kind of in the process. So on a lot of different things, even though it might not be very easy to understand, because from a media perspective, this is not something we read about. If you go to crypto Twitter, it's mostly the US folks as well. But Southeast Asia in general and APAC in general is actually pretty influential, but it's very much not in the mainstream media, but it's very much from the back end. They're supporting, they're pushing the entire endeavor and the industry in a positive direction, I would say.
And just to supplement what Ishanee is saying, so there's a report by Chain Analysis where it shows the top 20 crypto adopters in the whole world, and I think around like maybe 7, essentially like within the top 20 adopters, Asia, a lot of the countries Vietnam is like the number one, right?
Number one, yeah.
And then followed by India and like Indonesia and Thailand. So it's like we're like, and this is globally, it's not even like APAC. So I think there's two different things, right? The dApps and the basically the products that are coming out of Asia versus the users and the adopters coming out of Asia is like, yeah. So Victor, I think
both numbers are pretty strong, I would say.
Yeah. I think the difference between APAC and also the other part of the world is, I think this is coming from the education as well, because the difference between the two reasons is that we in APAC we really focus on STEM, right? STEM educations, like people learn about math, learn about algorithm and kind of things in the back in the school. And we do have a lot of contests and kind of thing. It's kind of have a culture for the populations, to understand more about the mathematics and all things like that. So based on that, we have and also in macro level of the countries, we also like more of the APAC is developing countries, means that we are poorer, right? It means that the people in APAC, we have more we are more hunger about like financial situations, about financial status, about more money and kind of things, and all of the opportunities in blockchain industries also bring them like a good chance for them to close the gap. So that for that macro level, it means that more and more people find a very interesting chance, very interesting in opportunities in order to make money, in order to get into things, in order to understand all the information, right? And the whole cultures with blockchain industry is that it's all based on open source. This means that all the information is there, and the people that is already prepared, they are already prepared with mathematicals, the ways they can read about informations, understand technical things, kind of things. They kind of have a little bit of advantage in order to get into the technologies, get into the market faster than the other things, than the other countries, right? And also they have more hunger. So I think it creates a pretty natural force for people to go into Web3 and get into opportunities. So that is the good one. But the downside for that is that I think people in APAC has a little bit short-term kind of visions when they get into blockchains. A lot of them go to blockchain industry in order to make money, in order to find a short-term profit, advantage, and other things. But for the West, Europe and US and all the other parts, they are more a little bit more of a longer visions kind of things. They go there, they learn about the technologies, and also they aim for innovations. They aim for the disruptive of financial system and different things, right? So that is an upside and downside. I think the upside is very, very good already, and it set a good background and a good foundations for us to push forward. But for the downside, I think we have to keep educating people, keep raising the companies that is going for long-term visions, going for innovations, going for something that is big, that is not just like money focused game and things like that. Yeah, that is just a little bit of my comment. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, and also want to hear perspective from anh Kỳ.
Yeah, I think they all mentioned great points. I don't have much to add there. If anything, I would say, I think that the regionality is not so relevant nowadays when it comes to knowledge transfer because of the internet. But being in crypto or in Web3, it's just that line is blurred even more, just because the speed, like what Victor was saying, like the nature of open source and the nature of just like overly share everything. Like if you spend your hours on Twitter every day, I think you can learn like so much from all the great and brightest minds all around the world that are working on different projects, different protocols around the world, no matter where you are. So yeah, so my point is really like, we don't have to think about like, oh, we're from APAC and we should only be focused on APAC, but more like, okay, we're from APAC, here's our advantage, maybe in terms of labor, in terms of like maybe more like STEM educated talents, and then we take that advantage and go and build something amazing to, you know, take it to the world. That'll be my point.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think we're getting really close to Q&A time, but I do have a couple of final questions for the speakers before we move on to Q&A. So what do you think, for Victor, what do you think DeFi 2.0 looks like, and what are the opportunities for builders and talent in DeFi? And yeah, I guess for anh Tiến would be why do you believe, you know, gaming is the bridge to bring crypto adoption to the mass? So I guess let's start with Victor.
All right. First of all, for the questions, I need to have a little bit of clarifications about DeFi 2.0, right? Because like, you know that one of the aspects of blockchain industry and crypto industry is that they introduce a lot of jargons like DeFi 1.0, DeFi 2.0, DeFi 3.0, right? It's already there. So I guess for DeFi 2.0, I think you mean that the new era of DeFi, right? Because we just passed over a period that DeFi really picked up. It was the main factor to drive the whole adoptions of blockchains, and I think it's very natural. So before we have very, very few blockchain, and only Ethereum is a valid one for DeFi, because only Ethereum has smart contract and securities and kind of things, and also Kyber was there from the beginning, and we really somehow found the DeFi space with the decentralized exchange use case. But that was the past. Right now we have so many blockchains. We have Binance, we have BNB chains, we have Polygon, we have Avalanche, we have like many other chains. And also we have Solana, we have different ways for people to approach with smart contract and approach with DeFi. So I think the new era of DeFi is really about cross-chains. It means that people go there trying to use DeFi services across different blockchains. And in Kyber, we also trying to accommodate all of that use case. In the past few months, we have been very intensively expanding to different blockchains, like deploy Kyber to all of the blockchains that we have, including Polygon, right? And the users, they go to Kyber, they can use like whatever chains they are, whatever chains they want, whatever chains the funds they have on, right? And I think for the futures, in Kyber, we really believe that users don't have to care about which blockchain they are going to use, because blockchain somehow in the ways it's just the underlying framework, the underlying infrastructures, it's just like TCP/IP, right? You use it every day, even for the calls here. We are using that protocol under the hood, but no one has to know about it. And in Kyber, we also have the same belief. For blockchains, you don't have to worry like what kind of blockchain you are trying to use, what kind of blockchain you should use in order to do your financial use cases efficiently. Like for example, you have like this amount of funds, and then you want to trade it to another kind of token, to another kind of asset, right? You don't have to worry about all right, so which chains I am going to use in order to do that kind of use case, right? You just want to focus on what is the price, what is the decision-making process, what is the fees that you want to that you're willing to spend, right? I really think the new DeFi is about the way you make it efficient in terms of capitals, income, in terms of operations, in terms of the ways you split the funds over different blockchains in order to enjoy different incentive out there. So that is I think that is about the future of DeFi, and DeFi is the core of blockchain. I think, because whenever you go, wherever you go, whatever you do with the blockchains, and even when you go to Cypher in order to play the game, you're going to face the financial part of the game there. And because the game is decentralized, and the financial part of a decentralized game is also DeFi, right? So I think DeFi is the core. This is something that if someone wants to work in blockchain industry, and they want to like harden the skills, they want to harden the knowledge in order to get into blockchain industry, I think learning about DeFi, learning about finance, learning about all of the different protocols in order to provide financial use cases like trading, lending, things like that. This is going to be very beneficial for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to jump onto that and then lead to my point is I think Victor is absolutely right. Soon you don't even care like what kind of blockchain you'll be using, because it's also going to be an underlayer. Just like how very soon you won't even care if this is like a blockchain game or is it a Web3 game, because you'll just be playing great games. I think that's the goal. I think that's the future of, I guess, Web3 gaming. It's just make great games that people won't know that it's a Web3 game. Why? Because I believe personally that a lot of games will become blockchain enabled or blockchain leverage games. And why would we do that, and why is it important? I think because of two simple things. Number one, I think blockchain and NFTs allow for the first time ever digital assets ownership, and I think that is massively powerful. I think with Web 1 and Web 2, you know, people were able to digitally create and share assets, but they were not able to claim it as something that they own. With Web 3, you're able to create, share, contribute, and have a claim of ownership in whatever digital product, community, protocol, platform, games that you have helped create. And because you are able to claim digital ownerships, there's so many things that people can leverage upon that and build. And DeFi, like Victor mentioned, is one of the big avenue for that. So I do see that games will also enable a lot of DeFi or financial applications and leveraging of their digital game assets. Number two is that with traditional gaming, right? If you're a gamer, an early supporter, an early backer, all you could have done was to give the developer money and says, here's my money, you give me some kind of founders pack where I get some rare skins when the game launched. That's it, you know, and then you go and play the game, you tell your friends and the whole world about how great the game is, and the game developer makes like, you know, hopefully like $100 million, and you get nothing. You get like a thank you card. But with Web3 gaming, it allows us as game developers to bring shared ownership to the community and early supporters very, very early on. And this is what Ishanee was saying as well, because they are one of the reasons for your success. So they should in turn have an upside for your success as well. And because of this financial tie, financial incentives like link, I see that Web3 gaming communities can be so sticky, like much more sticky than traditional, you know, Web2 gaming communities. I mean, if you look at Axie Infinity, right? Sure, the game has up and downs, and sometimes the economy may not work out the way the devs want to, but the community stick behind for better, for worse. They stick behind because one, because they love the game, but two, because they have so much riding on the success of the game because so much of their money is invested into the game. So yeah, those would be my 2 cents on what's next for gaming. And I'm just, again, like super excited to see and play absolutely like amazing games that leverage, you know, of course, traditional game crafting methodology, but also blockchain technology. And I think we're not too far off. I think a year and a half, you see some amazing games out there.
Really inspiring. Ishanee, do you have anything to add before we move to the Q&A?
I mean, I think both of the folks made really good points, right? They're obviously experts in their own domains. So I don't have anything else to add.
Awesome. So I'm not sure if Kim Anh wants to turn on the camera, but she typed a question on the chat box, and I think that question is quite perfect for Ishanee. Because, you know, she's a generalist, have experience in finance and investment in crypto, but she's not sure about what sources of job she can participate and how to connect with the blockchain and get more opportunities as a generalist. Yeah, so would love to hear from you, Ishanee.
So, I mean, like the most kind of straightforward answer would be, you know, join either a fund that's either doing trading or investing in crypto projects. But beyond that, I think because crypto in general is such a financialized product, it is a distributed ledger, literally. So your finance skills are going to be transferable pretty much everywhere. You can become like a growth and strategy person in literally any crypto company. You know, if you join, let's say SIPHER, for example, and I think Tin made this point earlier. If you understand economy in general, you understand financial engineering in general. I think these are all extremely important skills to have, and you know, you're not just going to become another marketing person who understands, you know, how to do campaigns. You need to also be able to understand, take all this data driven approach, take this economic token incentive approach on what would be the best campaign, really, because you're now also putting you're basically giving away like your tokens as part of that. So I would say, you know, that would be the second thing. And if you want to go deep dive into the DeFi kind of world, there's obviously tons of different financial engineers out there doing extremely interesting things. So go check out some of the DeFi protocols. They're always hiring as well. for either engineers themselves, if you want to take on that kind of a role, but if not, just as crypto researchers in general who analyze the different financial systems and then kind of brainstorm different financial products as well. So lots of different things you can do here. As a generalist, we always need people with quality who can pick up crypto fast and who are able to contribute and communicate clearly, I think, and who are long-term focused, most importantly, not in it for the short-term money grab gains. So yeah, the world is your oyster, basically.
So I think there was a question from Kanho in the comments. I think generally speaking, I think what she was asking is that do we see Asia's competitive advantage in I think her phrasing was inexpensive labor. So I think it's like for instance, if we heard a lot about like the modern day sweatshop of the games industry, maybe a year ago or something like that, it's quite intensive in terms of game development. So I think what she's asking is with Web3 now and things being more with things being a lot more like remote first, how would that kind of look like moving forward in terms of companies being born out of different regions, and how would they be competitive being based in different regions?
That's a very, very interesting question, and I think I will go ahead in order to add my comments there. I think the difference between the US and the West in compared to Vietnam markets. I'm not saying about the APAC, because Singapore is also the markets that is really approaching very closely to the West, right? So I'm not going to comment there, but I will comment the difference between the cost in labor cost in terms between Vietnam and the West. I think the gap is closing. We have to pay salary, and also like much higher salary than before, than ever in the past in Vietnam, to attract talent, especially when it comes to engineering, because engineers are the people that is like very, very big or like massive demand in blockchain in the past two years, right? So in Vietnam, the gap is closing, means that we have to pay more salaries for engineers, already like double or even triple than before in terms of like 2 years ago, and that is the current situations within Kyber. So that is one. The second one is, but I think the difference, the efficiency or the effect of that high salary is better than hiring the Western people, because the engineers here they experience a big jumps in terms of compensations. Like they gain more. It means that they have more appreciations. Means that they commit more. Means that it is something that is very special. Something that is that comes with like more and more opportunities, more and more return than before. So the commitment from them is more than before, and I mean, it's amazing. You get the people there, get the people in the companies. You pay them a lot, but then they really commit with the long-term vision. They work day and night with the whole teams, and the vibrant, like the whole company's culture is really, really vibrant or something. This is very interesting. Another part of that question is, do we see a trend of like Asia expanding to the West in terms of hiring? I think it depends. For engineering in Kyber, I think for people within APAC is still the reason to go. we still have like more efficient in terms of expense, and also the engineers from APAC, they also have the abilities, to learn fast. They have the abilities, to work a lot more. I think things like that. Yeah, that's question. For that question, I think is a no. But for a little bit of like engineers that they require more communications. So communication is something that is very important in blockchain, because going to blockchain, going to Web3, you have to be transparent. You have to communicate to the world day-to-day basis. Yeah, and not just the world. You have to talk with partners day-to-day. They go to the teams. Like most of them doing on Telegram, they just like text you, asking questions, expecting you to have a response in a very, very short times, short waiting times, right? And also with Web3, you have to work with a lot of things like B2C services, B2B partnerships, APIs, protocols, smart contracts, and all kind of things, right? So it's just not possible for you to, as a company, for you to allocate like a dedicated teams just in terms of communications. This is different than before. And you have to give that kind of like ownership to the people that really work on that. So for engineers, they're going to be different engineers, and they do the development work. They understand underlying things. They understand the technical stuff, but then they also have to go out, trying to be an evangelist. They advocates for the text. They explain things well and things like that. For that kind of positions, I think the priorities from Kyber is that we want to fight for good engineers that comes with good English speaking skills. So that is one. The second one is the people's coming from the native English speaking countries, and then they have a little bit of like technical skills. So that adds a little bit of more details to clarify for the questions.
Yep, I think that was like really well elaborated, like even in the different regions. And I think that we're having a lot of questions with regards to, I guess, like immediate next steps into, how do we find jobs that are appropriate for my background, for X background. So I think a lot of the folks on the panel have been really helpful, and also the attendees have also been really helpful in pasting some of the links. So for example, Kyber, SIPHER, Polygon, even Valerie's hiring, IOSG I'm sure is hiring as well. So feel free to just have a look at like the career page for, I mean, not just like the 5 of us who are here, but obviously like anyone, like any like layer 1, layer 2 dApps, research houses, investment houses, they're all hiring for sure. There's no reason for any company to not be hiring. I think that would be concerning if they're not hiring. So yeah, so I think that would be like a good call to action, I guess, before we take the next question. Valerie, do you want to kick that off for the next question?
I'm not sure if Andre wants to show his camera, but I think this question is, I think Deng might know the best, because I know he went through the IDO time and he has to work with a lot of country different regulations. So the question is about, is Asia competitive advantage also attribute to being a safe haven in terms of security laws? So yeah, I would say that to Deng, who has some experience recently.
Is it the haven? Is it so?
Okay. Before I answer this, everything I say or suggest is definitely not financial nor legal advice. So always check with your lawyers like 3 times before doing anything. Yeah, I did go through the the legal research prior to our ICO. And yes, a short answer to that question is yes, Asia or some Asian countries are currently a bit more accommodative when it comes to their crypto and security laws, or basically on their views of what is construed as a security and what are not. With regards to US, some countries in Europe, China, there's definitely they have different views. And therefore we were, for us in our case, we were not able to serve them. And therefore we have to, basically ban the IP addresses of those who participate in the ICO that we did. I think the legal framework is going to be more clear going forward in the next, 3 to 5 years, given just what's going on in the world right now, and just the rate of crypto adoption that we have seen, in the last 10 years. If you check the latest podcast from Real Vision Crypto, you can see an awesome chart of the crypto adoption. And I think that, governments are waking up to this, and there will be more clarity on what is, securities and what are just tokens and digital goods and digital assets. Because right now it's all like jumble up into one thing. And, even we were so scared of selling our NFTs and thinking like, okay, are NFTs like digital assets? Are they a security? We don't know, right? We're not sure. And even big platforms like OpenSea have like a massive kind of like term and condition clause that says, at any time, if they deem any NFT projects could be close to a security, they'll remove it, So we definitely live at a very interesting time. And yes, that is an advantage, being in the slightly, I guess, more accommodative space. However, I think the advantage is going to disappear soon, and you just have to be very, very pragmatic on what you execute, with tokens and NFTs going forward. I hope that answered the question. And definitely not financial, no legal advice.
Yeah, Andre, say thanks to you. And I think we're at the mark of wrapping up our events. So I do want to ask final round if anyone has last questions for the speakers.
I think with regards to hiring, just have a look at, any of the links that we shared in the chat, number one. Number two, any specific like companies that you're interested in, just like head over to their website, and there should be like a bunch of like roles opening. And I think folks should be open to internship positions as well. Yeah, and I think Victor just pointed out that there are many. Open.
So
definitely.
Also, as a rule of thumb in crypto, if you really like a particular project, just hang out in their Discord long enough and send a DM or a message on one of the public channels saying XYZ is your profile and you really like the project and you want to work with them. Even if you don't get hired, at least you'll get that first kind of leg in and that first interview.
Yeah, or Twitter. Twitter works as well.
Yeah, Twitter is great as well.
Or LinkedIn, just try everything.
If you're in Vietnam, I think Facebook is also one, especially my Facebook.
So final piece of advice, if you want to break in Web3 from Ishanee, is DM her on Twitter.
No. My advice was, if you're interested in any of the portfolio companies, and if you want to reach out to them, let me know. Like, if you can't reach out to them, just feel free to DM me on Twitter.
Awesome. Anything else to add? Last advice for the audience, Ishanee?
I mean, I think like for me, I'm super excited to see more and more founders coming in the space as well, coming out of Southeast Asia, building in crypto and competing like head to head with, the general Western world as well, which is not something we've seen in the past. But obviously from Axie success, YGG, Kyber, we know these all to be true. And we're seeing more and more projects building in that kind of direction as well. So super excited for that. If you're a founder, would love to kind of hear from you. And second thing is, if you're a founder, besides the legal advice to protect yourself and your company, please don't negate that, but always try to kind of build in the long term with the long-term vision of kind of contributing to the ecosystem. And I think Web3 in general will reward you pretty well for that.
Yeah. And we do have like last questions from Fu, but also maybe we can incorporate that into like advice in addition to top 3 most exciting project in crypto right now. So and Victor, please. Like Kyber.
Yeah, like Kyber. Actually, because I was recently promoted to CEO of Kyber, it means that I have to change a lot of structure of Kybers and also work on something that is with a little bit news of long-term vision for Kyber. So Kyber is a new one. I think Kyber has been there for a very long time, and we have good reputations, and also we have very, very good technical foundations in order to for growth and things like that. And the next near future is for us to really focus on growing, and the team is expanding a lot, like X2, X3 in the very near future. So Kyber has like so many open positions, and also the change of the qualities of the teams. It's just amazing, like in the past few months. But that is about Kyber. I don't mean that Kyber is the top 3 most exciting project in the world. I think the recent one you should look at is the Ape one, which is had Ape coin, right? With huge volume and kind of things. It's not a recommendation for you to go there and then apply, right? This is not that kind of recommendations, but I think it's a very, very good one for you to get engaged, like go on Twitter, like try to understand why it is that hot, and what is going on there. There's like a few threads that is coming from a few dollars to a few millions, things like that. It's very interesting. You can go there and learn. For the other tools, I think for the other speakers to add in.
Yeah, cool. I'm just gonna go first. We'll go second. Yeah, I think the ApeCoin and also the Yuga Labs, the company behind the ApeCoin, is definitely very, very interesting. They actually they partly inspired SIPHER, how we chose to launch our characters as NFT PFPs first, and then in-game characters later. They have done a lot of things right. So I think if you go and study like the whole journey, you can definitely learn a lot from that team. And like what Ishanee was saying, like they were really powered by the community, by the strong, 4,000 or 5,000 holders, and look at the kind of value they were able to create out of that. I think for me personally, I think the second type of project in this space that are exciting would be gaming projects in Web3. I think gaming has barely started. We're scratching the surface of what gaming can do and what blockchain can do for gaming. I think you see a lot of great projects being launched over the next year and a half, maybe 2 years. So keep an eye out for that. Once these great projects are launched, then there's another like additional layers of applications, financial applications, custodians, credit scoring that can be built on top of these digital gaming assets. And I think that is going to be a very exciting space. So that will be my second, I guess, category of exciting projects to look into. And I'll leave the third one for the last speaker.
Hey, thanks. So, been a fan of Kyber and SIPHER for a very long time. Unfortunately, SIPHER is not a portfolio company, but really love the work. I think it would only be fair for me to talk about my portfolio companies, but I'll throw in one which is not as well. So I think like currently I'm super excited to be looking at like Mixmob being one of them, but also a couple of like the projects we have. So a lot of the layer 2 solutions, Darknet, for example, is just barely beginning. The ecosystem is barely beginning. I'm already seeing a lot of dev interest there in general across APAC as well. So I'm very excited to see how that entire kind of ecosystem grows, and how folks are going to basically take advantage of those high throughput layers over time. Also excited to see more things in the cross-chain or interoperability layer. So if you're building in that direction, like feel free to reach me. That's something that I'm super excited about, because I think Victor and Tin mentioned that they believe in the multi-chain world, but it's not enough just to be multi-chain and have fragmented liquidity when you have the ability to create global globally liquid products, basically. So those are some of the ones that like even Polygon's doing amazing stuff with the layer 2 kind of things as well on that side of the world. So extremely interesting projects there. And I think the one project I'm very excited for is also Phantom. This is a non-portfolio company, but I absolutely love the team and the way they're building, and the user experience has been, even as someone who's been a user of MetaMask, etc. I absolutely love the feel, and the onboarding experience is 10 times easier for me having joined Phantom as compared to the first few times when I struggled kind of creating my own wallet. So also a big fan of that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I see Fu has turned on his camera. Do you want to say hi to the speaker?
Yep. Hi, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking your time on like a Saturday night. I don't know where you are, maybe Vietnam or somewhere in Asia. And yeah, so taking the time to speak to us and share your knowledge and experience. Maybe just briefly introduce myself. Right now, I'm a VC at VU Venture partner on their crypto and Web3 team. So super deeply down the rabbit hole and trying to learn more about Web3. I think it's a great chance to meet with great founders in the APAC area and building great stuff. So yeah, just want to drop in and say hi and learn from everyone, and just want to make more connections and more to mirror. And it's always great to have that inspiration next to you, because I also work in the SIPHER Discord channel and see everyone really like highly active and highly responsive. So yeah, it's great to see the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just also want to share some of my point of view as well. I'm really excited about institutional solutions. So a B2B solution for going to Web3, because previously the trend was all about retail and consumers. So I think this year we're going to see a lot more B2B solution in Web3, such as like DAO toolings or custodian for institution in South Asia. So I hope to make more investment into that space this year. But well, thank you guys, the speakers, especially, and all of the attendants, the participants today, for spending your time and posing like really interactive discussions. I think Web3 is so exciting to keep up with what's going on. I think Twitter is still my best and my main learning. After Twitter, I think just like learning from this like master, Victor and Deng and Ishanee, and so many opportunities are opening. And as you can see, everyone is hiring. Kyber is expanding like 3 times their head counts. Same with SIPHER. Ishanee, I'm sure IOSG portfolios are constantly hiring. Even myself is hiring an investment analyst. So let's stay in touch and let's build together. Web3 communities become bigger and like stronger. And hope to see you guys in a future event. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye bye.